Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're really getting into something fundamental, a concept you hear a lot but maybe don't always unpack. Agape.
That's right. This specific kind of self-sacrificing love.
Exactly. And we're looking at an idea from our source material that challenges the common view, that it's just something God does.
The argument is deeper. It's about who God is.
And that shift, well, the article suggests it changes quite a lot about how we approach growth, even things like reconciliation. We can start with something really relatable, something the source uses brilliantly, I think.
Oh, the example of the parent.
Yeah, that quiet moment late at night, a parent comforting a crying child, putting their own comfort aside.
It's a small human echo, isn't it, of that self-giving agape. Imperfect, sure, but it captures that essence of choosing another's good over your own ease.
And that sets us up perfectly.
It really does, because we need to be clear what we mean by agape. English has, well, just the one word love, mostly.
Right, which is limiting.
Very. Greek gives us more nuance. We're not talking philia, that's friendship, brotherly love.
Or eros, the romantic kind.
Exactly. Agape stands apart. It's about will, it's unconditional, it doesn't expect anything back.
Often costs something, too.
Often demands a personal cost, yes. That's key.
So that clarity is vital for our mission today, which is moving past seeing agape as just one characteristic God has.
Like being powerful or wise.
And instead, embracing this core argument. Agape is God's very identity.
That's the big theological claim. And the anchor for it, pulled right from the source, is 1 John 4.16.
Okay.
It says, God is love, agape. Whoever lives in love lives in God, and God in them.
The grammar there is pretty absolute. God is love.
It's an equation, almost. God equals agape. So it's not just a feature he displays, it's his intrinsic nature, his very being.
Okay, let's pause on that. The weight of that identity claim.
It is.
And it leads straight into that thought experiment the author proposes, the one with 1 Corinthians 13.
Ah, yes, swapping love for God.
It really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? It takes love from being this, I don't know, abstract virtue.
And grounds it right in God himself.
So listen to how this sounds, just a few phrases adapted. God is patient. God is kind. God does not envy or boast. God is not proud. God is not self-seeking. God keeps no record of wrongs.
God always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. God never fails.
How does that land for you? Hearing it that way, it feels different, more solid somehow.
It's incredibly powerful. But, it does bring up a question, a theological knot we have to untangle. Well, if God is purely this self-giving, unconditional love, how do we square that with passages about, say, judgment or wrath?
That's a fair question. Did the source material address that?
It does, drawing on sort of traditional interpretations. The argument is that even divine justice has to flow from agape.
Okay. How so?
If God's core identity, his very being, is this unchanging love, then something like judgment isn't a contradiction. It's framed as the loving, just response to evil, to things that break relationship or violate the moral fabric of reality.
So even the hard actions are seen through the lens of agape, aimed at restoration or upholding what's right.
That's the idea presented, that every divine action ultimately stems from this volitional, self-giving love. It really pushes that identity over action point home.
That makes sense. It provides a consistent framework. Okay, so if that's God's identity, how does it show up in us? How does it manifest? Let's shift to Galatians 5.22.
Right, the fruit of the Spirit passage.
Paul lists agape first. The fruit of the Spirit is love, agape, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control.
And the really interesting thing this source highlights here is the grammar. It says the fruit, singular.
Not fruits, plural.
Exactly. And the source brings in Andrew Murray, writing way back in 1895.
What was his take?
Murray argued, based on that singular fruit, that agape isn't just first on the list. It is the fruit. It's the single essence.
So all the others, joy, peace, patience,
are essentially descriptions of agape in action. They're what that one living love looks like when it's expressed.
So we're not trying to collect 9 different things. We're cultivating one thing, agape, and the others naturally follow.
That's the interpretation. It's like they're the facets of the one diamond.
I like that.
And the Enduring Word commentary echoes this. It suggests those other 8 terms just show what love in action looks like. True agape will naturally involve patience, kindness, and so on.
Okay, that simplifies things conceptually.
But wait, there's more textual support. This is where digging into the sources gets really fascinating.
Oh, tell me more.
It involves looking at the actual ancient manuscripts. The source points to Bruce Metzger's work on textual criticism.
Okay.
Metzger reminds us that early Greek manuscripts used something called scriptio continua.
Scriptio continua. Sounds technical. What is it?
It just means continuous script. No spaces between words, no punctuation, no sentence breaks, just a solid block of letters.
Wow. So how did anyone read that?
They had to figure out where words and sentences began and ended purely from context. It required interpretation just to read it aloud.
Okay, so how does that affect Galatians 5.22?
Well, with no punctuation, an early reader could easily have understood it as, the fruit of the Spirit is love, colon implied joy, peace, patience.
Ah, defining love, not listing separate items.
Exactly. That lack of breaks, combined with the singular fruit, makes a strong case that Paul intended these as a unified whole, all flowing from agape.
That's actually quite compelling. It reframes the whole idea of spiritual growth. It's less about juggling multiple virtues.
And more about nurturing the root, which is agape.
Right. Which leads us neatly to the big how. If agape is God's nature and the single fruit we're meant to grow, how does that practically change us, in our messy everyday lives?
How do we go from knowing this to actually living it?
Yeah. What's the mechanism for transformation?
The source offers a powerful answer, pointing us to 2 Corinthians 3.18.
Okay, what does that say?
It says roughly, as we behold the Lord's glory, we are being transformed into his image with ever-increasing glory.
Okay, behold the Lord's glory. And if God's glory is his agape identity?
Then the verse is saying that as we contemplate that self-giving love, which is God's nature,
we are changed. Slowly, maybe, but progressively into that same image.
Yes. It's not primarily about willpower or trying harder to be loving. It's more relational, more contemplative. It's about exposure.
Like spending time with someone and picking up their mannerisms, but on a much deeper spiritual level.
That's a good analogy. The focus is on intentionally spending time contemplating God's nature, his agape, and letting that reshape us from the inside.
And the source material didn't just leave that as a nice idea, right? It offered some proof.
Oh, absolutely. Real-world evidence. And quite dramatic evidence, too, considering the context.
This is the South Africa story.
Yes, the anecdote from the author Bruno Luiso. It's set in the challenging post-apartheid era.
And it involves 3 men from vastly different and historically opposed backgrounds.
Exactly. Their roles are crucial to grasp the significance. You had a white man, a former Afrikaner police officer.
Representing the old regime, essentially.
Yeah. Then a black man, a former MK activist, someone who fought against that system.
Often violently, that was the armed wing.
Yes. And finally, a colored man who had served in President Mandela's security detail, part of the new South Africa.
Just imagine the layers of history, pain, suspicion, maybe even hatred between those 3 positions.
It's hard to overstate it. Decades of enforced separation and conflict conditioning them to be enemies.
So what happened? How did agape bridge that?
Well, these 3 men ended up together in a 6-month discipleship program with YWAM.
6 months is a long time. That's sustained contact.
Crucially, yes, it wasn't a quick fix. It was extended time spent, presumably, focusing on God, on his nature, together. And the change wasn't just superficial politeness.
What did it look like?
The source describes a specific moment, these 3 men crying, hugging each other, offering genuine forgiveness. It was the start, it says, of real friendship.
Wow, across those divides.
Across divides that seemed almost insurmountable. The article presents this as a direct result of them individually and perhaps collectively beholding God's glory, his agape, and being transformed by it. A real-world example of 2 Corinthians 3.18 in action.
That story really brings it home. It shows agape isn't just theology. It's a force powerful enough to heal deep wounds.
It has to be, doesn't it? If it's truly God's nature.
So if transformation happens as we behold, the final piece is the how-to. How do we practically behold?
The source gives clear pointers. It's about intentionality, building habits.
Okay, like what?
Intentionally seeking God's presence, making time for scripture, not just reading, but contemplating, setting aside time for silence, engaging in genuine worship, focused prayer.
So it's about creating space in our lives to consciously turn our attention towards God's nature, his agape.
Exactly. It's less about trying to manufacture love ourselves and more about positioning ourselves to receive and be changed by the source of love.
And it's gradual, right? The source emphasized that.
Yes, very much so. It's not instant. It's ever-increasing glory. A slow, steady work of the Spirit in the heart, gradually growing that agape fruit, pushing out our natural self-focus.
Okay, this has been a really rich dive. We've seen agape as God's identity, as the single fruit of the Spirit, and as the power for real transformation fueled by beholding Him.
It connects theology to lived experience in a powerful way.
Which brings us to the application for you, the listener. Knowing all this, what's next?
We want to leave you with a couple of reflective questions, drawing directly from what we've explored. Think of them as challenges, maybe.
Go for it.
First, where in your own life do you feel the tension most strongly? Which relationship, which internal struggle, which old resentment? Which area most needs a dose of God's agape right now?
Where do you personally need to grow in that self-giving love, even when it's really difficult?
That's the first one. And the second follows from the how. Yes. Looking honestly at your daily or weekly rhythm, how can you intentionally carve out more time to behold? How can you build a sustainable habit of contemplating God's nature, His agape, whether that's through scripture, silence, worship, prayer, or something else?
Practical steps toward transformation.
Exactly. May that core understanding that God truly is love be an anchor for you this week. And may that love start to take deeper root and show itself in how you live.